The broken silence, the human commander's gambit, first blood. The turning point night sky over the colony burned with alien fire. Great warships floated above like dark giants, their engines humming with terrible power. The alien commanders stood on their bridge, their glowing eyes fixed on the ruined human outpost below. "This will be simple," one commander hissed, his voice full of arrogance. "They have only a scout unit left to defend. This world is already ours." The others laughed, confident that the battle would be over within an hour. But far below, in the shadow of broken towers, human soldiers prepared for war. Captain Hale walked through the rubble, his boots crunching against glass, his rifle slung across his back. His soldiers looked at him with weary but steady eyes, each one knowing they were outnumbered 100 to 1. Still, no one moved to retreat. No one lowered their weapon, because they trusted him. Hale's voice was calm but sharp. "They think we are nothing but a scout unit. Let's prove them wrong." The humans were tired, winded, and short of supplies, but they had something the aliens did not: grit, stubbornness, and the will to stand even when all hope seemed lost. Hale led them through the ruins, pointing to collapsed bridges, narrow alleys, and shattered buildings. "Every corner is a trap," he told them. "Every wall is a weapon. We may be small, but we will fight like an army." The soldiers nodded, their eyes burning with quiet fire. The alien generals gave the order, and the first wave descended. Dozens of armored warriors landed, their blades glowing, their armor shining in the firelight. They marched through the streets with confidence, expecting humans to scatter. Instead, the ruins came alive. Explosions burst from hidden mines, walls collapsed on enemy squads, rifles cracked from above, and the air filled with smoke and screams. The aliens staggered, their commanders watching in shock as their soldiers fell faster than expected. "These are scouts," one hissed, disbelief in his tone. "Why do they fight like an army?" Reports came from the ground, filled with confusion. "Every street we enter becomes a kill zone. Every shadow hides another ambush." The commanders frowned, their arrogance fading into unease. Still, they ordered more troops forward, determined to crush the humans by sheer numbers. Captain Hale moved quickly through the battlefield, his voice steady in the comms. "Unit Bravo, fall back to the market square. Draw them in. Unit Charlie, hold the left flank. Do not break." His orders came sharp. His soldiers obeyed without hesitation. They were more than just fighters. They were wolves hunting giants, striking fast, vanishing, then striking again. Hale himself fought on the front, his rifle barking fire, his blade slashing when enemies came too close. The aliens grew frustrated, their lines breaking as human traps tore them apart. They expected chaos, but instead found strategy, discipline, and a terrifying will to fight. One alien captain shouted into his comms, "These humans are not scouts. They are demons." Another voice answered, trembling with fear, "If this is how their scouts fight, what of their armies?" The words spread quickly, a whisper of horror among the ranks. The battle raged for hours, the ruins glowing with fire and blood. Human soldiers fell, but each one fought to the last breath, dragging enemies down with them. Alien commanders poured in more reinforcements, their numbers filling the streets. But Hale had been waiting, his mind working like a blade. Now, he ordered, and the trap was sprung. From beneath the streets, charges planted days before erupted in thunder. Entire blocks collapsed, alien tanks crushed under stone, their soldiers buried in fire. Hidden artillery, built from scavenged parts, roared to life, shells slamming into enemy ranks. The aliens staggered, their formations torn apart, their confidence broken. Smoke filled the sky, and through it marched the humans, bloodied but unbowed. The alien generals shouted in disbelief, "This cannot be, they are only a scout unit." But the truth burned before their eyes. Every human that fought stood with the strength of 10. Every trap turned weakness into power. The ruins themselves became weapons, guided by human hands. And at the center of it all stood Captain Hale, his voice strong, his eyes blazing, He fought, not for victory, but for memory, for every comrade who had fallen before. His soldiers followed him, their courage unshaken, their will unbroken. The aliens tried to rally, tried to push forward. But fear grew heavier in their hearts. They whispered, in their own tongue, trembling, if this is the strength of a scout unit, what nightmare are their armies? And for the first time, the alien commanders began to feel doubt. The turning point came with fire. Hale led a charge through the market square, where elite in armor had gathered. His soldiers detonated hidden bombs, collapsing towers unto their enemies. The aliens screamed as their machines burned, their confidence crumbling with every explosion. Hale raised his rifle high, shouting, "This is our world, and no one takes it without blood." His soldiers roared in answer, their voices echoing through the ruins. The aliens faltered, their once proud lines breaking apart under the weight of human defiance. Even as the humans bled, even as they fell, their spirits rose higher for every step the aliens took. The humans made them pay in blood. The battlefield was no longer a conquest, it was a grave. On the alien flagship, silence fell. The commanders stared at the reports, their glowing eyes wide with horror. "This was meant to be easy," one whispered, his voice trembling. This was only a scout unit. But the truth was undeniable. The humans had turned a hopeless defense into a nightmare. And as the fires burned across the colony, one truth spread through the alien ranks like poison. If a handful of humans could bring them to their knees, then what would happen when humanity's true armies arrived? The commanders gave no answer, their silence heavy with fear, for they now understood the terrible truth. They had not fought an army, they had fought only a scout unit. And still they bled. Asterisk the cost of defiance. The last stand. Horror and respect. The ruins of the colony burned through the night. The ground was littered with broken machines, shattered armor, and the blood of both human and alien. Captain Marcus Hale stood among the wreckage, his soldiers gathering round him, their faces pale with exhaustion. They had survived wave after wave, but every victory had cost lives. For every trap that fell, for every ambush sprung, one of his own had fallen too. The humans carried their wounded, speaking in low voices. They patched bleeding wounds with scraps, shared the last of their water, and buried their dead in silence. Yet even in grief, they did not bow. Every soldier knew they had stood against an enemy far greater than themselves. And still they had endured. The aliens had numbers, weapons, and ships, but the humans had each other. In the alien flagship, the commanders raged. They had lost too many warriors to what should have been an easy fight. "This must end now," one snarled. "We will send all remaining forces and crush them in a single strike." Orders were given, and the largest wave yet descended on the ruins. The final battle had come. Hale gathered his soldiers in the center of the colony. His voice was calm, though his body was weary. "This may be the end, but if we fall together. We fall, fighting, and they will remember who we are." The soldiers roared in answer, their voices shaking the air. Even wounded, even tired, they lifted their rifles, their blades, their hearts unbroken. No one spoke of surrender. Not a single soldier. The last stand began with thunder. Alien armor rolled through the streets, warriors pouring in from every side. The humans met them with fire and fury, rifles blazing, grenades shaking the ground. Every alley became a battlefield, every doorway a trap, every fallen soldier a spark for another to rise. The aliens cut them down, but the humans kept fighting, rising even when wounded, striking until their last breath. Captain Hale fought at the front, his rifle empty, his blade red with blood. He shouted orders, rallied his men, and stood like a wall against the tide. Aliens swarmed him, but he cut them down one after another, refusing to fall. His soldiers followed his lead, their courage burning brighter than the fire around them. The ruins shook with the clash of steel and the cries of war. Hours passed, and the battlefield fell silent. Smoke curled into the sky, the ground wet with blood. A handful of humans stood, broken but alive, their weapons heavy in their hands. The aliens had stopped, their commanders watching in silence. Horrified by what they had seen, one whispered in fear, "This was only a scout unit." The word spread through the alien ranks. If a single scout unit could destroy battalions, could hold against armies, then what were the human legions? The commanders trembled. Their pride shattered, their silence heavy with fear. They gave the order to retreat, their ships rising into the sky, leaving the ruins behind, for they dared not press further. Hale stood bloodied, his chest heaving, his eyes steady. Round him, his soldiers lifted their weapons, not in victory, but in defiance. They had stood against impossible odds, and they had not broken. The aliens would never forget this day. And across the stars, a whisper began to spread: never underestimate the humans.